Good day, everybody. This is Susan Elliott, host of the Mean Lady Talking Podcast, and this is the second part of episode 51. And before I go on to that, I want to talk in this episode about the narcissist and little head games that they play. Not that if you've been with a narcissist, you need to have me tell you what they are. I'm sure you know what they are. But I also want you to think about narcissists overplaying their hand. Keep that in mind. Before I go on, Codependency Bootcamp has already started. I have 8 lovely ladies in Codependency Bootcamp, and we had a terrific kickoff call, and everybody's hard at work already. I said in the Facebook group that I'm not doing a regular GPYB Bootcamp again after the May one until October, because I usually do one in October because it'll carry us through the holidays. But somebody said, what about the live seminar in New York? And I went, oops. Sorry, yeah. The next boot camp after May will be November, at least November. If I don't get it done in November, it'll be the beginning of December. I do try to have a boot camp going through the holidays because people typically have a tough time. I usually try to start them before Thanksgiving. But if for some reason you don't get it before Thanksgiving, it'll be the beginning of December, but it's definitely not going to be in October. So the last GPYB boot camp will be in May, and I already have 2 people who were signed up for the Codependency Boot Camp signed up for that one. So there's only 6 slots left. So if you want to be part of the Getting Past Your Breakup Boot Camp, the 9-week boot camp, let me know. I do have an audio if you prefer audio. I usually put a lot of writing in the registration form so people know exactly what to expect, but I do have an audio. So I will put that in the show notes of this and maybe a few other podcasts. But anyway, I just want to let everybody know. The version 3 workbook is out and the Power Affirmations Level 2 workbook is out. Anyway, if you want a boot camp, sign up. Send me email, susan@gettingpastyourBreakup.com, or you can just send it to the podcast, meanladytalkingpodcast@gmail.com. Okay.
Welcome to the Mean Lady Talking Podcast, the tough-talking, advice-giving show by the not really mean lady, Susan J. Elliott.
Okay, now, I talked about the abuse. Now, the abusers that I talked about, not all of them were narcissists. I told you my 17-year-old homicidal boyfriend, he was not a narcissist, not in any way, shape, or form. I am one of those people who has become concerned about how many people are painting other people with the brush narcissist. That's one of the driving forces behind the course that I'm doing. Because by the time I finish with the course, you're going to know whether the person you're talking about is a narcissist or not. So that's the driving force. If you have questions, is my person a narcissist? Is this a narcissist? Is that a narcissist? How do you tell? I went through the DSM criteria in the Chris Watts podcast. Please send me emails. Once I put the course up, it's not going to be like a podcast where I'm going to go in and I'm going to change things. If you have questions that you want answered, tell me. I want it answered on a podcast, or I want it answered in the course, or whatever. Send it to me. I have a lot of email, but some of these questions I can put together. The story that I'm going to tell you about my own experience in court was that one of the things that you need to do is you need to become a bit unpredictable. That doesn't mean in a bad way. If your ex is truly a narcissist, they're going to try to paint you as the crazy person. Your emails should be reasonable. Your text should be reasonable, but that doesn't mean you're a pushover. Do not let them mistake kindness for weakness. Reasonable, repeat yourself often. Don't fall for the bait, the name calling, the you always, you never, all of that bad narcissistic communication. One of the things that you should understand is that narcissists overplay their hand. They are looking for the predictable you. In the story that you're going to hear me tell, I had actually recorded this for part 1, but then it got to be too long. I pushed the narcissist off his pin. He subpoenaed my mother to come to court and say that I was a bad mother. My mother was never going to do that, although I'm sure that his lawyer thought that he was going to get her to do it. My mother was a nervous wreck. But I think the real thing was to get me to back down. That's what the whole thing was all about with him. Many narcissists do scorched earth theory. They're going to slash and burn their way through your life, and if you've had any problem with anybody, they are going to pull it out of the air. I have done podcasts on this before. Most important thing is what your narcissist can show to a judge. Look, this person's unhinged. This person is snarky. I know it's easy to get snotty, snarky with narcissists. They pull that out of people. That's why email is great, because you could think about it and edit, think about it and edit. Don't ever just send off an email to a narcissist. And something that I have recommended to my clients, my divorce coaching client, my divorce clients as an attorney, is don't take the bait. And even try to not use the opportunity to be snotty. I'm telling you, you want to come off as the most reasonable person. But something that I've said in earlier podcasts, what I tell my divorce coaching clients, what I tell my regular divorce clients, even if they're not dealing with a narcissist, is you tell your co-parent one insult, one nasty word, something that's off subject of what the kid needs. I delete at that point, and if there's anything of importance after that, I haven't heard it. So if I were you, I suggest that you refrain, and again, try to say this nicely. Please try to refrain. I understand that dealing with your ex-wife, ex-husband can be difficult, but please try to refrain from name calling, and I will do the same. Always say I will do the same, even if it's something you've never done. Always, always, always try to be reasonable. Think about the judge reading their email to you and your email to them. Don't get into text wars. Text wars with anybody. It doesn't have to be a narcissist. So many misunderstandings happen in text with your friends, with your family, with lots of people. I hate texting when it's something important. Don't do it. Even email is not a good idea, but with a co-parent, you say, look, I want to hear from you only when it's absolutely necessary. Everything else should be set in stone. If it's not, you guys need to go back to court. And you need to get a lawyer who understands the narcissist, because otherwise the narcissist is going to run right over you. So don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to finish this podcast tonight because I'm going to finish with the second part of 51. But I implore you, rein in your anger, rein in your temper, rein in anything. Strictly business. Make it logical, make it practical, make it reasonable. And make sure that it's a give and take in email on your terms. If somebody's saying, I asked you this question and I didn't get a response to it, you can say, I'll give you a response tomorrow, unless it's, well, my house is on fire. Okay, call the fire department. What are you calling me for? It's like, make sure that you come off as reasonable as possible. And the other thing is, the more reasonable you are, the nicer you are, the worse they're going to behave, because they want to get you back where you belong. So they are going to push your buttons and push your buttons and push your buttons. Don't let them. Keep all important conversation in email. Don't text. Don't talk on the phone. And definitely don't talk in person. You tell them, one insult, one accusation that's untrue, I'm deleting it, and I'm not telling you I'm deleting it, I'm just deleting it. So that is something that everybody needs to understand, that it's really, really important. Okay, so I'm going to give you the other half of 51 now, and please send me your questions on narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality. People don't have big issues with borderline personality disorder. The person that has the issues is usually the borderline. And they're not going to, borderline personality disorder isn't going to be a destructive individual like a narcissist, like a sociopath. Just not I've never quite understood why they're in cluster B, but they are. So send me your questions. It could be psychological, it could be legal and psychological, but please send me your questions on sociopath, narcissist. I'll be doing some podcasts pretty soon, and I've already started doing the course on it. So please let me know. And I used to teach family law, not in law school. I used to do community classes. So I'm going to be taking some of the stuff from that and giving it to people that are going to court with somebody with a personality disorder, and hopefully that information will be helpful to you. I used to say in my courses, and I learned this when I was in law school because I wasn't even a lawyer, so I couldn't give legal advice. I said I give legal information, not legal advice. We do not have an attorney-client relationship. You have questions. If you want to know, should I hire an attorney? What should I ask the attorney? What do they need to know? Ask me those questions. I'm going to put some of that in the course. Please, please, please. Get out of your old patterns with the narcissist, sociopath. You've got to change the dance. You've absolutely got to change the dance. Like I said in number 50, when I told him keep them, that changed the dance, and I kept changing and changing. You're not going to change it overnight. At some point, you're going to realize that something's different here. And the only way they can realize that is if you make things different. No matter how much you want to take their frickin' head off. Because they're baiting you to do just that. I told this story about the woman who lost custody of her daughter for months and months and months. The sociopath egged her on and she bit. Don't bite, don't bite, don't bite, don't bite. Okay, here we are. 51B coming up. Talk to you guys soon. Send me email, send me cards and letters, rate and review. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. I've been doing a lot of divorce coaching lately, and some of the cases that I've been looking at, I'm really sorry. Some people in the legal profession have no clue what is going on. No clue whatsoever. And the only thing that I find somewhat uplifting about a narcissist who has a narcissistic bully who has a narcissistic bully for a lawyer is that narcissists are litigious. They love court. They love to go in there. Oh, the world's a stage. Oh, the world's a stage. Oh, the world's a stage. I was just telling someone today, when I met my ex, when I met my first husband, I was 15 years old. And he liked me because I was a tomboy girl. And I went off the rope swing. I was the only girl that went off the rope swing. Not only was I the only girl, but there was a lot of guys who wouldn't go off the rope swing. I was absolutely treacherous. And there was no room for error. If you did not go off the rope swing correctly, you were going to get really hurt. And I saw guys get really hurt. Girls wouldn't even attempt it. My ex-husband liked me because I was the only girl that went off the rope swing. He liked me because I was the only girl that went rock climbing with him. I was the only girl who rode a motorcycle. He showed me how to ride a motorcycle. His family had horses, so we used to take the dirt bikes down the horse trails. It was so much fun, and we used to get to this point where you went over this hill and you had to hold on to the handlebars really, really tightly, and you would actually leave the seat. You would fly up in the air, and what was great about this was if you had a passenger, you pretty much didn't have a passenger after you got over this hill. And we would laugh, and he would take one of the dirt bikes and I would take the other dirt bike. I mean, he showed me how to ride a motorcycle in an afternoon. He taught me how to drive a stick shift in a day. So he really liked me. He really liked these parts about me. He really liked the fact that I was a tomboy. He was from Brooklyn. I was from the Bronx. He bought me my first leather jacket, and he was saying, a girl from the Bronx has to look all cool with a leather jacket. And I have pictures of me in that leather jacket when I was about 18 years old. Anyway, so he saw me as this tough little tomboy girl, and I could always hold my own, and people had really gotten the point where we lived that don't mess with us, because if you mess with one of us, you're going to have to take both of us on. And we are very tough. People came and they stole my kids' cars that were in the front yard, and we saw them in another yard, and we went over there and we kicked the door down, and people were scrambling. There was like 20 people in the room and 2 of us, and people were running because they must be thinking, who are these 2 crazy people that are coming in just kicking down the door? This happened like the last year or so in our marriage. We lived in a bit of a tough neighborhood, and they probably figured that we were going to be an easy target, that they could steal our kids' stuff, and they found out that they couldn't. So when I did the restraining order with my ex, I'm sure that he thought that I was going to show up looking like the tough little Bronx girl, and he was going to make a big deal about nobody's going to push this girl around. Like, she's tough. She's from the Bronx. Who are we kidding? And this was when he had subpoenaed my mother and my support system and all these other people. But I showed up in court wearing a little pink dress with little puffy sleeves, cinched at the waist, nothing that he had ever seen me in. I mean, when I had gone to a school reunion, and a friend of mine who had grown up, she was Bronx Italian, and when I grew up in the Bronx, all the Italian ladies wore pretty much black dresses all the time because most of them were widows. And when I went to a high school reunion dinner, one of my classmates that I went to high school with pulled me to the side, and she had been widowed about 10 years before I was. And she said to me, widows don't have to wear all black anymore. And I was just looking at her because I wasn't quite understanding what she was saying, but she was telling me that I didn't have to wear all black. But I always wore all black. When I was working for a computer company that I worked for 10 years, they used to call me Johnny Cash because I was always in black. And I was looking at her at this high school reunion dinner. I couldn't really think about what it was she was talking to me about. I had to think about it. And then I went, oh. And then I said to her, no. I said, I always wear black. I said, I married Michael wearing black, which I did. So I'm sure that my ex, when we had the restraining order, was thinking that I was going to show up all dressed in black or looking tough or whatever. I'm sure he thought that I was going to come in there guns blazing, which I didn't. I went there, I listened to my attorney, and if you look at Jodi Arias, they dressed her like a school mom, even though they had pictures of her with every orifice of hers revealed. And Dahlia Dippolito was dressed for court like a school mom, but Jodi Arias slaughtered Travis Alexander. At least Dahlia Dippolito was just trying to hire somebody to kill her husband, but Jodi Arias slaughtered the guy. And she's guilty. Thank you very much. But, I mean, they dressed her, glasses, looking all frumpy. And Dahlia Dippolito, same thing. You know, she looked like a vixen before she was going to court, and now she looks like a school mom. So, not that I'm in their category at all, but my lawyer said dress prim and proper. And I went to the store because I didn't have the thumb of the crazy ex-husband anymore over me, and I was making my own money. So I went to the store and I bought this adorable, but nothing that I would ever wear, dress with little pink sleeves and little cinched at the waist, and he knew I never wore anything cinched at the waist, and I think his eyes like popped open when he saw me. But the point was not what I was wearing, but the fact that he bet, and he said this to me many years later after we talked about that particular day, and that particular day was a very sore subject with him because he lost, and he lost badly, because he overplayed his hand. And I will tell you that if you're in court with a narcissist, they will overplay their hand. Just hang back and let them do it. My dress that day was not manipulation, which is what he said it was. But he was so busy overplaying his hand, subpoenaing everybody that I knew and my own mother, that he sauntered into court. Because narcissists love court. They're the only creatures on the face of the earth that love court. I'm an attorney. If I'm your attorney, or I'm your divorce coach, or I'm your whatever coach, and I'm there with you in person, I will go in there guns blazing, Like, you can count on me to give you absolutely incredible representation. When I represent somebody, it is my duty. I am bound by the American Bar Association to give my clients zealous representation, and that is what I do. Whether I'm representing somebody as a lawyer in the state where I am licensed to practice, or as a divorce coach when I am helping them with their pro se representation. I believe that even though the American Bar Association has said that there are really no rules governing divorce coaching, but the American Bar Association says if you hire a divorce coach, they should have more experience than just having been through a divorce. And I like that. But as an attorney or as a divorce coach, when I have a client sign our agreement, I write in there, my duty to you is to zealously represent your interest with no conflicts of interest, and nothing else should interfere with that. So when I go into court, either as an attorney, which is what I like to go in as, I can go in as a divorce coach, but we are muted if we are not the legal representation. We can go in there. Most of my divorce coaching that I do with pro se litigants is usually behind the scenes, and I will give them advice on how to deal with the ex, how to deal with the attorney if they have one, and how to deal with the judge or the clerk or whoever it is you're dealing with. But when I have my own issues and I have to go into court, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't know who these people are that like court. I'll tell you who they are. They're narcissists. Narcissists love court. So my ex sauntered into court thinking that he was big man on campus. He had silenced my entire support system, and I'm sure that he thought he was going to schmooze the judge, and he was going to schmooze the clerk, and he was going to schmooze the entire world, and we were going to come out, and he was going to have my restraining order and everything else tossed. And I knew that was exactly the way he was going to come into court. And me dressing in a little pink dress was a curveball that I threw to him. Just the way he threw me all of subpoenaing every person in the world, including my mother, to testify. Because I said to him, why are you subpoenaing my mother? She was a nervous wreck. And he said, I'm going to have her get up on the stand and prove that you're not a good wife or mother. Without 6 months of therapy, that would have cowed me. But my therapist coached me. My Al-Anon people coached me. Luckily, my ex didn't know anybody's name in Al-Anon because it's all anonymous. And I went through with it, and I wore my little pink dress, which was the worst curveball that I could have done for him, because he was looking at me like, who the hell is this? Because Mr. Wonderful had his leather jacket on, looking like he was so wonderful. But after I started testifying about the abuse, the judge was giving him dirty looks, and his case sailed away. Wah, wah, too bad, bang, bong. Anyway, so one of the things that I did want to mention is that the Power Affirmations booklet is out, and I know that I've said that already once, but I've told people that with my therapist started giving me new things to think about and new ways of being right away. When he was torturing me and I fell off the bed from crying, and I finally told her, and then she said, tell him to keep them. That was pretty early on. But things started changing right away. And for me to change to the point where not only did I walk into court wearing a little pink dress, but I was proud of the fact that I had thrown that curveball. And I knew it was a curveball. And my attorney knew it was a curveball. And I was enjoying the crap out of it. Half the people in there, even my own mother, didn't recognize me in the little pink dress, because everybody's like, have you ever seen her in pink? Does she wear pink? I wear pink now, but for the most part, I wear black. I wear like 3 different colors, and pink is one of them, but back then, I never wore pink. I think that even people that knew me for years and years didn't recognize me in pink, and he was like, who the hell is this? I look like the sweetest little thing that anybody had ever seen. But it's like, you want to play games? we can play games, buddy. And my therapist was a great therapist, and she told me many, many things. She showed me how to set boundaries. With her guidance, no one ever abused me again. It was wonderful. But she had given me very basic affirmations because she knew that I had no self-esteem. I learned my affirmations from Investment in Excellence through my corporation when they sent me to Investment in Excellence, and I fell so in love with that program that I became an Investment Excellence facilitator, and I taught that in my company, and I met Lou Tice, and it was great. And to this day, I use a lot of the IIE way of drafting affirmations because it changed my life. My therapist changed my life, but 2 years into therapy with her, I started doing the IIE affirmations, and that took my recovery, my self-image, everything up to a whole new level. The Power Affirmations Level 2 booklet that I just put out, that's available on the Getting Past Your Breakup website, honestly represents over 25 years of me researching this. And I tell people, if you don't believe me, just Google it. Google positive self-talk and Stanford, positive self-talk and Harvard, positive self-talk and the University of Pennsylvania, and brain scan, and effect on the brain, and dopamine, and serotonin, and pathways. Google all of that. Don't take my word for it. Take every Ivy League school in the world's word for it. Affirmations, positivity, mantras, visualization, goal setting. It's all in this Power Affirmations booklet that I just published within the past 24 hours. And it's April 1st, and this is no joke, people. That booklet is 126 pages. The fillable PDF is on the website right now, and I should have the non-fillable, the ones print out in the next day or so, but you can print that one out. For $10, guys, it's a bargain. Get it. And don't give it to anyone else. It represents not only 25 years of my research, because I keep up with this stuff every year, but last year I realized that my material needed a major revamp. I haven't changed the core of it, the stuff that I learned from Investment Excellence and how to format an affirmation, how to work with affirmations, all of that, but I've added to it, and I've rearranged it, and I've reorganized it, and I made it better. It's absolutely a year of revamping it and working with different boot camps. And from last summer's boot camp to the one that just ended, that ended right before this one, all of my boot campers helped me with this material, because I would give it to them and say, okay, use these 13 pages, then go to these 49 pages, then go to the workbook on this page, and then do this and do that. My poor boot campers, like, I'd turn their heads into jelly. But the Power Affirmations booklet that I just released in the past 24 hours, it's April 1st, 2019, is the best stuff you're going to find on the subject in one place. Is science. It's not new agey, it's not Oprah-esque, and it's not bullshit that's made up. It's real, and you need to follow it, because if you don't have a good, positive self-image, you're going to continue to get into relationships with losers. Losers, losers, losers. And I don't want you guys in relationships with losers. You're all too lovely. So please don't be in relationships with losers. Please, please, please. Okay, so guys, this is Susan Elliott, host of Me Lady Talking Podcast. Buy the Power Affirmations booklet. Raise your self-esteem. I put the entire table of contents on the website. Please go there. Please look at it. Please enjoy it. Please knock yourself out. Please do not share it. Please, please, please. Copyright is very important. Okay. Thanks, guys. Please continue with the cards and letters. Please rate and review. Rate and review. Rate and review is really, really important for this podcast. I appreciate it so much. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Take care, everybody. Hey, let's be careful out there. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.